Falling. What a good song to start the day off of. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. Free Falling. How perfect is this song? Free Falling. Anyway, Free Falling. What can we talk about free falling? Free falling markets. Free falling jobs in the tech field, free falling expectations. It's no longer a worry-free economy, is it now? They said it's not a recession, but they're always welcome to change the definitions of words, right? The definitions of words. Anyway. Today, let's talk about a little kerfuffle before we go into the usual stuff that we talk about. Because we're free falling, aren't we? Free falling. Free falling indeed. Free falling like drones. No, not really like drones. Like a weather balloon. Turn down the radio here on 103.5. Is that Coast? I don't know. Coast 103.5? Is it? I don't know. Honda won't tell me. Toyota won't tell me. Not Honda. Anyway, so did you guys find out about the fun kerfuffle? The fun kerfuffle that happened? So we're living in the USA, the country that prides on having the best PhD, the best PhDs people, the best, knowledgeable individuals, the best creators or entrepreneurs creating the best technology in the world. And there was a weather balloon looking thing that some might say was a spy balloon. We don't know because apparently whatever data was on it was not recoverable. But it was just casually flying over the USA in the airspace. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to say. I mean, they could have hired me to fix the problem. I would have found some way to recover the data. I would have found some way to stop their mission from being accomplished if it was sincerely a nefarious mission of spying. But they really messed it up on that one. I mean, as I said before, we've got some of the best drones ever, and I just fail to understand how they were not able to recover any data on this balloon other than maybe a couple of far shots of it. I mean, seriously, we've got drones that can fly really, really high up there, so they could have probably gone up there. They could have found a way to drop a remote ID device on this thing. So then all the Karens like me could have been sitting pretty at home, turn on the app and see exactly where the balloon was going. I mean, come on, that would have been a fascinating thing. It's not just about the news. Then you can turn on your phone on the app and see, oh, look, the weather balloon spy thing is going over here. I can track it on my app at home. That's kind of cool. Anyway, I guess the FAA is still wondering if the pilot of the balloon passed their trust and has their Part 107. I mean, come on. We need to be able to find these guys immediately. Oh, geez. You guys. I mean, with all the amazing technology that we have, let's say this thing was sent up there and it had some amazing cameras on it or something, and it was spying on terrain below or whatever. How easy would it have been to send a little drone up there with a little spray paint can on it and just fly close to the balloon, aim the thing at the balloon, because the balloons don't really go fast. It's not like a jet or anything. It's a balloon. It basically just travels like this speed up in the air. So bring one of our drones, one of the U.S. drones up there with a spray can. Can't do this, guys. And just spray paint over the camera sensors and lenses so that the thing couldn't actually accomplish its mission. How difficult would have that been? I mean, seriously, think out of the box. Think out of the box. I thought we were, you know, so advanced, so intelligent, us Americans. We couldn't even come up with something as ridiculous and simple as that to stop it. So if it was truly a spy balloon, it already recorded everything that it wanted to record on the camera. Maybe it did not report it back, but let's say they had live stream capabilities. Maybe they had one of those systems. For instance, there's one of the newest systems out here in America is where they use Bluetooth. They can use Bluetooth systems in order to maintain the ability to connect up to the live stream system. So they could have been all the way back. Let's say it was China. We don't know anything. But let's say it was China. Maybe they got the feed footage all the way through because they don't necessarily need it to be on a storage device and then bring it back. They could have been live streaming it. This is so stupid. This is so stupid, guys, that we let this happen. This is so stupid. Not to mention that we have drones with mechanical arms these days that could have easily retrieved, or at least we have awesome drones with thermals. We could have scanned the machine to see if it had a bomb on it. We could have scanned the spy balloon for all kinds of different things. And then if it didn't have anything that could have gone boom over a city, we could have just used a mechanical arm or something to retrieve some of the stuff on there. You know, it's really not that difficult. It's not like we don't have the technology. I just don't know what we were thinking. I just don't know what they were thinking. Anyway, that was hilarious in a really stupid way, and we just had to watch the disaster. I mean, hey, you guys could have hired me. I would have given you great ideas to stop this. Oh my gosh, guys, this is the world we live in. The country with the most amazing PhDs, brilliant minds in the world, couldn't figure out how to take the information off a spy balloon. It's just astonishing. It's astonishing. It is truly astonishing. Anyway, on a slightly less happy and funny note, I would like to talk about water bottles today. Because, you know, as a vegan, I like the idea of saving the planet. But there is too much risk compared to the reward in certain kinds of bottle types. So we have the good old water bottle, quite harmless, not too big, not too small. Carries plenty of water. Probably still weighs, I don't know for sure, but probably still weighs more than a little drone like this when it's full. Then another like sort of plastic container. I guess maybe kids need a little bit more water throughout the day. I think our kids get overwatered anyway, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, this is the kind of bottle, metallic bottle, that I despise greatly. I mean, plastic bottles are perfectly fine. You can recycle them, you can reuse them endlessly, and if you want, you could even turn them into 3D printed filament. 3D printable filament. This, on the other hand, is metal, and the problem with this is the thing itself weighs close to what a drone weighs, maybe even a little bit more than a drone, just by itself. When you put a nice handle like this onto it, and people understand physics will understand this, and you swing it from the handle, it becomes a serious weapon, So first of all, it is super heavy by itself. Then you put water in it, it becomes even heavier. Then it's metal. I know that this is a sort of blunt, smooth, but you know what they should have for sure on all of these is they should have rubber padding. If you want to sell these, you have to have rubber padding on these, just like you do when you do weightlifting. This is the equivalent of a weight that you can get yourself at a gym. And if this is swung and hits anybody, especially a child, the damage, and I've seen it firsthand, is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So personally, I would ban these from schools because, you know, especially if kids are not being supervised, and definitely would not have kids that are unsupervised walk around with these. Once this becomes airborne because somebody throws it, then I guess you probably should have people have a Part 107, because you need to understand the meaning of the damage that this can do to somebody. So anyway, I thought I'd point that out. Sometimes things that we do to say, I want to save the environment, are absolutely incredibly stupid, especially when mixed into environments. This, you guys, is a weapon. You might not think so, but it truly is a weapon. I've seen firsthand what this can do to somebody if you swing it at them. And so, personally, I would ban these from schools. But sometimes the good old, you can recycle these at least hundreds of thousands of times and just keep drinking from these. So I don't understand what the problem is. This is not going to save the planet. This is not going to be the reason why. It's just like the stupid straw things. What is going to save the planet is we have plenty of plastics out there. We got to take those plastics and turn them into products, right? Use 3D printing or other systems that are a little bit better. There are different kinds of 3D printing, but to make plastic work for us instead of creating weapons that our kids can turn on each other with, again, it could just be an accident, but it could still cause some serious damage to our beautiful children. So anyway, I thought I'd just point that out because it's something that I care about a lot. So there we go. So we went from one thing to the others, and we can just jump into a little bit of investment. I want to read a little bit of this cool book, as well as Cocktail for Fun. And I think I brought the other book too. But look, I brought this cool little thing too. What is it? It was one of my daughter's, I think it was Taekwondo boards. Now, which way does it go? Not that way. This one goes here. No. So it goes like this on this one. I didn't realize it was broken in 3 parts, but these things are pretty flimsy, pretty breakable. But again, they're easier to break where you see the lines there. And you can tell by the grooves of the wood that they would break more easily that way than they would some other way. You see that? If you've got strong thumbs, you can just snap them like that. Now, if you were to try to break it the other way, wow, that's pretty hard. But I can still do it. So, I mean, these are not exactly, Home Depot kind of boards. So if you got strong thumbs, you can just snap them like that. Even the hard way, I was able to snap those. Anyway, so okay, this is not really a show how strong you are thing. It's just showing you how flimsy those things are. They make you feel good about yourself, but then they're great for kids. When you get really good at Wing Chun and the things, you should be able to break the Home Depot boards. I still can't do it. My friend Charles the Great can, though. All right, so where did I put the thing? Where did we get to? I think we got to page 22. I just can't remember which side. I might just have to read a little bit of the things that we've already read in the previous thing, because I can't remember if we were at page 22 or 23. So we'll just go with it. So as a result, Soviet research in biology came to a virtual halt, and programs to improve agricultural output fell far short of their objectives. After 1965, when Lysenko lost all political support, official sanction was bestowed on the view that Michurin was a breeder of genius whose unusual methods can be explained by genetics. Following a series of economic and financial crises that have made it difficult to maintain intact mainstream theories of equilibrium and rational agents, economic and finance theory also might be moving toward a turning point. Many are now calling for a modification of the prevailing paradigm or even a paradigm change, but changing a scientific paradigm is never easy. Max Planck, in 1949 or 1950, a founder of quantum mechanics, wrote, "A new scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because its opponents eventually die and a new generation grows up that is familiar with it." Or, as he put it more succinctly, science advances one funeral at a time. Yet another explanation is that mainstream economists and financial economists dominate the major publications and have created an effective barrier to the publication of ideas critical of or challenging mainstream theory. Professor K, 2012, commented on the difficulty of getting published if one does not adhere to mainstream neoclassical thinking, he said. So yeah, this is one of the issues that you have in the modern world is if your opinion is slightly different from what everybody else is doing, if you're not good at creating proofs of the things that you know and that have tested out and know that work, nobody believes you or thinks you are just shilling. So anyway, that's one of the issues that you will find today. A lot of great scientists, a lot of great people out there are not good at creating the proofs to prove that they're good at something, to explain a theory, and others, for instance, just have an opinion that's slightly different from what, and everybody like basically hazes them over it, bullies the ever-loving poop out of them just because their idea is slightly different. Oh, like back in the day when people were telling other people, no, the earth is not flat, same kind of thing is going on. So you would be told that your model was theoretically inadequate. It lacked rigor, failed to demonstrate consistency. You might be accused of the cardinal sin of being an ad hoc. Rigor and consistency are the two most powerful words in economics today. Consistency and rigor. Oh, yeah, we read this bit last time. Now I remember. Have undeniable virtues, but for economists, they have particular interpretations. Consistency means that any statement about world must be made in the light of comprehensive description, theory of the world. Rigor means that the only valid claims are logical deductions from specified assumptions. Consistency is therefore an invitation to ideology, rigor an invitation to mathematics. Other sources have commented on the difficulty of getting published in major professional publications for anything other than what supports the prevailing economic and finance theory. A lot of people who are set in their ways and think that their way is the only way struggle hard when people come up with other theories, because they also don't want their own theories to be taken over. Just like if you are someone like Usain Bolt and you set records that, probably will never be beat for many years to come. But the day that somebody does beat it, you don't want to be downclassed, right? You want to set that record so high that you can live your entire lifespan without anybody else beating it, so that you can be remembered, at least during your time, as the fastest man in the world, right? That's the idea there. So Bruce Jacobs' principle of Jacobs-Levy equity management said, conflicts of interest in the rarefied world of professional publications may seem like an arcane concern, unlikely to have much influence on the real world, but conflicts of interest can lead to self-referential, closed systems that discourage learning and growth. The more closed a system of thinking becomes, the more defensive it is towards criticism, the tighter it holds onto its beliefs, and the less able it is to recognize its own faults. A positive feedback system is created in which only affirmation of already held opinions is permitted. Excuse my humanity. Conflict of interest standards can weaken the defenses that protect such a faulty system. Indeed, many researchers want to publish findings that poke holes in the prevailing theory cannot get published in major economic and finance journals. Most papers that explore new ideas outside the framework of mainstream neoclassical economic and finance theory have been published in such journals as Nature or Physica. What is perhaps most disturbing is the mainstream journals reject papers that present empirical results and statistical analysis, unless the findings are in line with the mainstream theory. The accumulation of empirical results is fundamental, however, for the progress of any empirical science. In the hard sciences, from physics to biology, if reported results do not fit existing theories, the results are first verified by other researchers, and if confirmed, a process of theory revision starts. In economics and financial economics, results that do not fit theory are often implied or simply ignored or are considered anomalies, making mainstream theory virtually unassailable and resistant to change. So the exception, whatever does not prove the rule or whatever, sometimes can really cause some issues when trying to create or to prove a different angle on something. The internet, however, may be changing the situation. At least such is the optimistic view of Andrew Haldane, 2012, Executive Director of Financial Stability of Bank of England. He remarked that academia's way of keeping score looked increasingly antiquated. He wrote, "Journal publications remain the main currency, but it is a devalued currency, at least as a medium of exchange for ideas. Some of the top names of the economics world have taken to social media and the blog sphere to propagate their ideas. This has the benefit not just of immediacy, but reach. It amounts to using those network externalities to academic advantage. In summary, mainstream economics and financial economics are not empirical sciences in the sense that physics and chemistry are. Many of the terms used are meaningless, assumptions are unrealistic, and the theory cannot be validated with empirical tests. Despite this empirical failure, mainstream neoclassical theories remain the prevailing theoretical model. The most recent crisis, however, has allowed critics to gain a hearing new ideas, either more scientific in that they are based on empirical data, or on the contrary, arguing that economics and finance should be placed back in the realm of the social sciences, are beginning to be discussed seriously. As Professor Lowe, 2012, wrote, "The recent financial crisis has exposed some serious gaps in our understanding of the global economy, and the need to take stock and get our academic house in order has never been greater. This presents us with a precious opportunity to make wholesale changes to our discipline that would otherwise be impossible. So we should delay no longer." So this is one of the biggest issues that we find in every aspect of our lives, whether it is politics, whether it is our jobs, whether it is whatever that we do, is that sometimes we are confronted with a different set of opinions, different belief system, and then instead of getting all defensive, we should give them a chance to be heard at the very least, and see which data they have to give us, and see if we can come up with a better way of doing things, or just compromise in some way, unless it's absolute hogwash, in which case we don't have to worry about it. But still, the fact that we are getting so defensive in our realities and set in our ways that we can't see someone else's perspective is just horrible. So part two, which is the theory and practice of investment management after the crisis. Need for change? Good question. In the previous chapter, we explored some of the problems with mainstream or classical finance and economics, continuing to base our discussion on a review of the literature and conversations with finance professionals in academia and the industry. We now consider whether and how the theory and practice of investment management, as taught and practiced today, needs to be revisited. As discussed in the preceding chapter, current mainstream finance theory is embodied in general equilibrium models. These models are idealized mathematical representations of an economy and markets populated by rational agents who have perfect knowledge of all possible contingencies now and into the future, now into the infinite future, who optimize the utility derived from consumption and production. Agents are coordinated by price signals. The capital asset pricing model is a prototype of general equilibrium models. As noted in Chapter 1, even many of the theory's advocates acknowledge that these models are unrealistic or simplistic and require additional pieces. Real agents do not have rational expectations. They interact and cannot be collapsed into a single representative agent. More serious, perhaps, from the point of view of science, is that general equilibrium models cannot be estimated from empirical data. In particular, the utility function of a representative agent cannot be estimated. That is, general equilibrium models cannot be validated. They offer an idealized representation of financial markets and economies at large that does not take into consideration such fundamental elements as the banking system, liquidity, employment and wages instabilities due to cascades of interactions and crisis. Work is being done to add some of these and other components to the theory, but many are now questioning whether financial economics can be reduced to a global model, useful as such as model may be. So do the theory and practice of investment need to be revisited. So that's a question. Didier Sornetz, a physicist by training and chair of entrepreneurial risks at ETH Zurich, summed up the feeling of many of the individuals we talked to for this study. He said, "The crash of 2008 certainly put on the radar screen many of the problems with traditional finance, but so did the LTCM long-term capital management crisis in 1998, and so did many other crises. There is a strong incentive in the business to forget lessons." That's right. That's one of the problems that we face as humans, is our memory is really short for things that happen, which is good and bad. In some cases, it's great because if you're a celebrity and you do something stupid like slap somebody on camera, people very quickly forget about the whole thing and continue to love you and support your channels, so you can keep making money endlessly. But on the other hand, as I said before, this at least doesn't stop them from being able to go on and do things in life. On the other hand, if you get canceled, then you're pretty much screwed for the rest of your life, which is much worse, especially if it was just a one-time off incident. So there we go. Man, I'm gonna read one, maybe two more pages, because it gets to the exhibit 2.1. So maybe we'll just read these last two pages, then we'll move on to the next thing. Finally, the sun came out. I feel happier, warmer. It's all great. So we just talked about the that LTCM. I have all these acronyms of death, and I can't remember them anytime soon. So you can search them up on your YouTube or whatever. Google, Siri, Amazon. Long-term capital management. And the other one, the CAPM, I can't remember. They said it at the beginning of this thing, and I just, Crisis in 1998. So we read that. So we will now explore some of those lessons with a bearing on the teaching and practice of investment management, namely diversification, optimization, diversification formalized, the CAPM and similar models, the efficient mark hypotheses, risk measurement and risk management, and crises. I think it's crises. LOL. For each of these topics, after a brief review of the theoretical framework, we present the various opinions and conclude with proposals for exchange or change. Proposals for change. Ugh. It says right here. Read it yourself. Anyway, so diversification is what we're going to get into right now. Diversification. Since the pioneering work of Harry Markowitz, 1952, diversification has been a fundamental concept in asset management and asset pricing theories. The notion of the diversification can be traced back to medieval merchants and perhaps to well before the Greco-Roman world. So the Greek-Roman world, Greco-Romano. The concept is to essential that it has been popularized by the adage. Adage is, I think it's a French word. Adage. Who knows? Could they just not have put a regular word in there? No, this is just want to make it difficult for me. But anyway, don't put all your eggs in one basket. In finance, diversification implies that you can obtain the same expected returns by reducing they made misprint right here, by reducing your risk by investing in a portfolio of many assets rather than investing in only one or a few assets. From a statistical point of view, diversification is summarized in two mathematical facts. By appropriately choosing weights, that is the proportion of funds invested in each asset, one can reduce the variance of a portfolio while maintaining unchanged its expected return, and the minimum impossible variance of portfolio is smaller than the variance of any of its components. All right, so it says, for example, the rabbinical writings of medieval Judaism, the Talmud, emphasize diversification explicitly. All right, so they emphasize diversification explicitly. A well-known piece of advice is to keep 1/3 of one's fortune in business, 1/3 in land, 1/3 at hand. Nice. Maybe this is going to be one of the things they put in the Sodcast, in the Sozcast. Pretty cool. So 1/3 of one's fortune in business, 1/3 in land, and 1/3 at hand. Cool. Some have said that the Greco-Roman world did not have a notion of risk because Greeks and Romans believed that the gods and the fates determine human fortunes. This conclusion is questionable in light of the high place reserved for prudence in the hierarchy of Greco-Roman virtues. In fact, in antiquity, prudence was represented as a two-faced god Janus, one face old, the other young, because the ancients believed that prudence was acquired by consideration of the past and foresight of the future. Does this sound like risk management? Note that Janus was a remote god considered to be or to have rescued men from savagery. Moreover, the ancient Greeks entered into insurance contracts, which are also mentioned in the earlier 1770 BCE Code of Hammurabi in what is now Iraq. Very cool. Anyway, what is being said here is very important. The face of youth as opposed to the face of age. Why is that important? Because even if you are old, you must be able to speak to your inner child, if you will, in order to better understand things that happen in your daily lives. Why? Because that inner child of yours, if you're disconnected from it, you lose the empathetic abilities that you had as a child. Most people get trained and grinded into the system where they completely lose their empathy. Why? Because it's important for business. Why? Because it's important for, being in the military. It's important for doing all kinds of tasks where you need to make a split-second decision without questioning your own judgment. You just do, because otherwise it just takes too long to accomplish that task. But if you are in a different scenario where you're in a safe space, basically, where you can have a second to think and ponder on things, then you need to be able to connect to that inner child for a second, because you may be making some horrible decisions in the long run, right? Not in the short term, like when you're driving, when you have to have that split-second decision ability, but you might need to think about how to invest in a market, how to do this or that, the other, and so sometimes that inner child can be useful. The two faces, right? Two faces. Says so. Going back to the thing. So, oh wow, they started. Got them, didn't I? No, just kidding. Usually, you're not supposed to start a sentence with because, but this is the modern world, and we're getting more loose with these things. You're not supposed to start a sentence with and either. But who cares? So long as you just, bring forth your knowledge. Because it allows one to reduce variance without affecting returns, diversification has often been described as the only free lunch in financial markets. If, for example, stocks and their returns are uncorrelated and individual variances bounded, then the variance of a portfolio can be made arbitrarily small by increasing the number of stocks. Stock returns are correlated, however, to diversification has lower bounds. In fact, market-wide correlation implies the existence of common factors that affect the entire market. This is the celebrated separation between diversifiable risk, that is, risk that can be diversified, away, and non-diversifiable risk. These properties are purely statistical facts and are, of course, undisputed. What has been questioned is the applicability of diversification. In fact, the 2007-2009 financial crisis, portfolios that were supposed to be well diversified and therefore protected from the risk of large losses actually lost significant value. For example, those invested in the S&P 500, which is in itself highly diversified but consisting entirely of equities, would have lost 57% from the market peak 9 October 2007 to its bottom 9 March 2009. Doubts have been voiced as to the effectiveness of diversification at every level of aggregation. Évariste Lefleuve, 2012 CIO and Chief Economist of the Americas at Natixis Global Asset Management, commented, recent empirical analysis shows that expanding the asset mix to include more equity-like assets as well as equities per se does not provide the expected benefits of asset allocation, the so-called only free lunch in finance. Page 17. Nevertheless, defenders of diversification argue that diversification always works if we define the opportunity set of asset classes broadly enough. The argument is that it is not economically possible for all asset classes to go down together. When everybody sells something, they buy something else, and whatever they are buying goes up if we expand sufficiently the asset classes. Wow. Okay, so critics of this claim argue, however, that in a severe crisis, all production and commercial activities can be impaired and the total value of investable asset can go down. So in Exhibit 2.1 summarizes the defense and critique of diversification according to our conversations with the industry and academic sources and a review of the literature. So diversification is not really a free lunch if assets are priced as if investors are already diversified. In such a condition, which seems likely to be true, not to diversify is wasteful, throwing away one's lunch. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Nevertheless, it is sometimes pedagogically useful to refer to diversification in such terms. This statement is not rigorous and would need appropriate mathematical qualifications. Empirical correlations might appear to be random fluctuations of random matrix, and correlations might affect only some sectors and not the entire market. I'll show you this picture here, which might be useful to you, where it has all the information that we just talked about. It says Exhibit 2.1, the defense and critique of diversification, But anyway, we will continue on with this to Mars, as they say, to Mars, which is tomorrow, just in case you didn't get that. We'll read a little bit of this, but I will tell you that there is such a thing as a free lunch. It's not common, but it can happen occasionally. If you get to the point in your interview process, when you're job hunting, where the client or the company is actually interested in you, you might get a free lunch. That's probably the only time you're going to get a free lunch, to discuss whether they are planning to employ you or not. That'd probably be the only time you're going to get a free lunch, unless you're a nice lady or guy and you can convince someone else to give you a free lunch. But most of the time, it's not free. Some exchange is going to happen in between. It's not going to be free. So anyway, what did we do the last time? Oh, we were going to talk about Crazy Russian Dad. No, we're not. We're going to talk about the Black Russian, how to make it. In Italian. Voglia di cucinare. Cocktail classici e esotici. Giunti di metra. I have a feeling that must be a collaboration between an Italian and a, not Japanese, a Russian company. Let's see. So to make the Black Russian, we're going to do ingredienti. It's 7 decimi vodka, 3 decimi liquore al caffè. Oh, there's coffee in there. Versare ghiaccio, vodka e liquore al caffè nello shaker. Agitare vigorosamente e filtrare in un bicchiere old-fashioned. Nice. Then we can make the Bloody Mary. The Bloody Mary. Ingredienti. 6 decimi succo di pomodoro, 3 decimi vodka, 1 decimo succo di limone, 2 gocce di salsa Worcester, 1 goccio di tabasco, sale di sedano, sale pepe. Awesome. So they even have Tabasco in this thing. That's pretty cool. Miscelare in uno shaker ghiaccio, vodka e succo di pomodoro. Condire con succo di limone, salsa Worcester, tabasco, sale, pepe e sale di sedano. Di sedano. You gotta get the accent right. Servire in un bicchiere tumbler alto. Il nome del cocktail evoca la sanguinaria Regina Tudor, detta appunto Bloody Mary. So it talks about the very dangerous and bloody Queen of Tudor or something. I don't know. I guess that's one for the Google search. Blue Lagoon 1. Ingredienti. 6 decimi vodka, 3 decimi succo di limone, 1 decimo curacao blu. Preparare nello shaker con ghiaccio cristallino e servire nella coppetta da cocktail fredda. Guarnire con uno spirale di scorza di limone. Scorza di limone. It's like a slice of lemon. Blue Lagoon 2. Look, there's 2 different kinds of blue lagoons right here. We have a lagoon here in Irvine, California, Woodbridge too. But it's not blue unless they've put water in it. Right now it's supposedly it's the winter season, so it's empty right now. All you can see is the white surface of the bottom of the lagoon. Anyway, ingredienti: 4 quinti gin, 1 quinto curacao blu limonata. Versare il gin e il curacao direttamente in un bicchiere tumbler alto con alcuni cubetti di ghiaccio cristallino. Colmare con della limonata. Sounds fantastic, doesn't it? All right, so we're going to do the B&B. I'm not sure if that's bed and breakfast. We're going to do the Bronx and the Bucks Fizz and the Bull Shot. The Bull Shot, it's my favorite. Not sure why, I've never tried it. Just because it sounds like something else. Oh, wait, the algorithm is going to get me. All right, anyway, so the B&B. Let's go with the B&B. Ingredienti. half Benedictine. I don't know, that must be a French word. Benedictine. Half cognac. Versare prima il Benedictine e sopra lentamente il cognac. Servire in un bicchiere tulipano, grande o ballon. Fun. Anyway, now we're going to do the Bronx. The Bronx, come on. Ingredienti: 5 decimi gin, 2 decimi vermouth dry, 2 decimi vermouth rosso, 1 decimo succo d'arancia. Si prepara nello shaker con cubetti di ghiaccio cristallino e si serve nella coppetta da cocktail ben fredda. We're going to do the Bucks Fizz Mimosa. Ingredienti: 3 quinti champagne, 2 quinti succo d'arancia. Versare il succo d'arancia in un bicchiere flute e colmare con lo champagne freddo. And then my favorite, of course, which I've never tried before, but it sounds awesome, bullshot. Bullshot. All right, so ingredienti: 6 decimi vodka, 3 decimi brodo di carne o consommé denso, 1 decimo succo di limone, sale di sedano, sale e pepe. Versare in un bicchiere tumbler alto con alcuni cubetti di ghiaccio cristallino, condire con sale, pepe e sale di sedano. Awesome, we made it to page 22, and tomorrow we'll get on with that promptly as we should. We've got a couple more minutes, if I can only find the thing that I'm looking for, which is not all of this garbage, which we're gonna have to throw away soon, because these are sharp. We don't want to get ourselves any broken fingers or anything. Let's see. Where'd I put it? Where did I put it? I taught to put it at. Here it is. Diagnostics. Let's do some diagnostics. It's all about the testing and diagnostics. So, as a diagnostician, we got to We got to page. Can't tell. It doesn't say the page on this thing. There's a whole bunch of pages that don't have numbers on them. Maybe it's because I can't read Chinese, but no, I think the numbers would be just numbers. Anyway, let's go with forward 2. Forward 2 on this book. There we go, right there. As you can see, there's no page signs at the bottom of this bit. So, the 10 stages of diagnostics and therapeutics in traditional Chinese medicine is unique in its own way. It is a reference for doctors. Casual readers with medical health interests may also appreciate the quite extensive coverage of symptoms. Syndromes, diagnostics, and curing processes described in 10 chapters using what may be, for most of us foreigners, unfamiliar concepts and approaches. By reading section after section in what is mostly laid out as a reference book, the reader will come to see similar concepts reappearing again and again and begin to take in the concepts and understand how a traditional Chinese medicine doctor can check the patient and approaches the diagnostics of the symptoms. The book begins with an interview with Dr. Zhang, who talked briefly about TCM, its origins, and its methods. The reader is then quickly plunged into the language of terms, TCM itself, with a description of symptoms and what they did and what they indicate. This is followed by the extremely detailed diagnostics and observations of patient in the synthesis of the 4 diagnostics. These include inspection, listening and smelling, inquiry, pulse taking, and palpation. Detailed inspections in this part of the book describe such things as the shape of the nose, with no less than 8 observations. Enlarged nose indicates an exuberance of pathogenic qi. Clear snivel includes or indicates exogenous wind, cold, or yang deficiency. Great. A marked section regarding inspection and one worth reading is the inspection of the tongue. The tongue, as some other parts of the body, has markings which can represent the entire body. Quote from the book, "The tip of the tongue corresponds to the heart and lung. the banks to the spleen, the root to the kidney, the margins to the live, I think it meant liver and it missed out an R there, the liver and gallbladder, the center to the stomach. This, as well as numerous observations with such interpretations, are reddish tongue, 15 descriptions, purplish tongue and bluish tongues, as well as looking the shape of the tongue, 9 descriptions, and the coating of the tongue. Very interesting stuff. Now, if you wanted to, you could just read it to yourself like this, but I will read it to you in English. We're going to do at least one more page, and then it'll be all for today because I've been rambling on for too long. Another marked reading section is the one talking about palpation. Okay, so about palpation, or taking the pulse. Pulse taking is an art form in that this is the part of apprenticeship that takes time, patience, practice, and must be taught and guided from a master. In pulse taking, the doctor places 3 fingers on your wrist and does not only take the pulse, but also feels whether it's hard or soft, fast or slow, large or small, and many more aspects which may seem abstract to the uninitiated. The process is repeated on the other wrist. The latter half of the first part of the book offers a quite complete section on syndrome differentiation and syndrome distinction of various diseases. Having read these sections, the reader can begin to appreciate the almost limitless abilities of TCM to pick up on the symptoms and diagnose simple to complex as well as difficult and chronic diseases. Throughout the book, the reader will be faced with unfamiliar terms such as qi, yin, and yang, and numerous others. The book tries as much as possible to explain these with brief introductions, footnotes, and comments. Chapter 5, for examples, gives explanations of TCM concepts and is a good section to read in order to understand the other parts of the book. Terms explained are yin and yang, internal and external, cold and heat, and deficiency and excess. Quote from the book, Yin and Yang, they are the general principles which can be used to generalize the other 6 principles. External, heat and excess are yang, while internal, cold and deficiency are yin. Most of these commonly used terms in TCM go much beyond a language translation and will require further reading or studying. Many terms used combine Chinese medicine with Chinese philosophy. However, you can use a complete dictionary of TCM terms which can be used as a reference and for clarity of Chinese medical terms. When translating this book, some descriptions were deliberately kept as a Chinese-style description. This adds interest to the reading and lets the reader see how professional TCM doctors in the Chinese language communicate. For example, of deficiency yang due to decline of fire of life gate, Widdish tofu, like coating, and the section on making pills, blend with honey and form pills the size of rabbit feces. Fantastic. So we're going to end with feces, because why not? It all ends up in feces anyway. So with that said, guys, if you are interested in all this stuff, just please feel free to join me once again, pretty much every morning around this time. Well, I will continue to read from various books and hopefully bring you some laughter, if that's even possible. I don't know. These things, you know, like these things. I can't break this one. I can't break this one. Ow, it broke. It broke. They are so brittle, these things. Let's try this way. Oh, it's not breaking. I'm gonna, oh man. I need Charles to break this one. This one's really tough. Can't do this one. Let's just try this one. Oh man. Just like that. Use that. You've got tools to use. You use your knees. It's the bee's knees. Look, it's a bee's. Oh, it won't break. It won't break. Use your head. Use your head. No, it doesn't work. Ow. Ow. I should have my friend Charles here. He would break it like this. He could just do like that. He would just like that. I don't practice enough. I don't practice enough. That one just won't break. It's just like, look at this one. Look at how I broke this one. This one's funny. Oh, man, a snap. It's a real snap. This one just won't break. I don't know what to do with this one. You know what I can do? I'll show you. Watch this. Ooh. You see? Look at that. I couldn't break it with my knee, but you just use this. Dong. You see why this is a weapon? There's no water in this, by the way. There's no water in this. And it broke something that I couldn't break with my knee. So this is why you guys should ban these from schools, or do not bring them on walks and stuff. These things are real weapons. And with that, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.